My God, I hate drugs.
Kasi marami lang nag-wonder kasi matagal kayong nawala, no? Madalas kayong hindi nakikita. What have you been doing lately po daw?
Ay, kakadayo lang po natin ng Boracay. Andun po tayo para magbigay ng update sa rehabilitation ng Boracay. Ayan, nasa Facebook naman po lahat.
Pero yung sinasabi nilang rumor na you're one of the ambassadors daw na sa Kuwait, if na-detain, is that true?
Ako, na-detain ako?
Oo.
Ay, hindi po totoo yun. Hindi po ako na-detain. Hindi po ako kasama sa rescue. Wala po akong in-upload. Wala po ako sinare na video.
Okay.
It's a different scenario at the Senate. Senators are still working on amending the Bangsamoro Basic Law. Zian Arcangel is following developments there. Zian, what's the latest?
My senators are busy proposing amendments to the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law so they can pass it on second and third and final reading before adjourning session Senate yet tonight. Passing the measure is top priority for the Senate since the bill has been certified as urgent by President Rodrigo Duterte. Senators immediately started discussing the bill as soon as session started at 3 p.m. But with 104 pages of the measure left to tackle, Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri expects the period of amendments to last until 7 or 8 p.m. He says the discussions can drag on further because senators will be talking about contentious provisions, such as providing a 72 billion peso block grant to the proposed Bangsamoro region. Still, Zubiri is confident that the bill they will pass tonight can pass scrutiny by the Supreme Court. Here's Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri in his own words.
Madaming mga sa tingin namin that could have been questioned in the by the Supreme Court and the constitutionality have been removed. But the amendments naman we committed to them will not diminish the essence of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. It still remains as a parliamentary government with the Chief Minister elected by members of Parliament. Ang gusto namin mangyari ay magkaroon talaga ng automatic appropriations parang LGU. Yan ang hinahabol nila na hindi na po nila kailangan pumunta pa sa DBM, maglimos.
Even if the proposed BBL is passed on second reading tonight, the session is still not over for senators. They still have to tackle the proposed resolution urging the Supreme Court to review its ouster of former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno through a quo warranto petition. After a decision is reached on the resolution, the senators will go back to discussing the BBL bill and approve it on third and final reading. Only after the measure has been approved can the Senate adjourn the session. Mai?
That was Zian Arcangel reporting live from the Senate. Philippines tackles the government's Build program in its first ever business forum. Our senior correspondent Ruth Cabal reports live from Bonifacio Global City Taguig. Ruth?
Yes, Mayan, what could be the most massive and most ambitious infrastructure plan to date, the Build program is on track. Nothing can stop us now. That's according to the country's economic managers. They say that out of 75 flagship projects, more than half of these have already been processed. Some are undergoing construction. Others are nearing completion. The end goal, they say, is to give a comfortable life for all Filipinos. In Building for the Future Business Forum, CNN Philippines talked to key officials involved in the Build program. Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno, Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia, Transportation Secretary Art Tugade, Public Works Secretary Mark Villar, and Basis Conversion Development Authority President Vince Dizon. Budget Secretary Jokno says an indication that the program is on track is that spending for infrastructure has greatly increased. In the last 50 years, the government only spent 2.6% of the country's gross domestic product on infrastructure, when the acceptable level is double this. Last year, infrastructure spending was at 4.6% of the GDP, and this year, the government is targeting to increase this to 6.1% of GDP. In total, the government is allotting 8 to 9 trillion pesos for the program, which involves 75 projects like roads, airports, seaports, and railways, including the first Metro Manila subway. The DBM assures funding is in place, 75% from domestic and 25% from foreign financing. Let's listen to their statements.
Yes, I'm happy where we are. It's it's not easy to do this kind of massive, ambitious program in 2 years. But what we did was to maybe complete some projects which were not started, but we are finishing right now. For example, the Panglao International Airport will be done this August. Okay? Panglao, that's been lying down there for 10 years. The Cebu International Airport, the Cebu Second International, we will complete that this June.
Terminal 2.
The Clark International Airport, that's been started now, right? It's ongoing.
On the part of transportation, therefore, if you will ask for criteria and view this in the light of the President's directive of making the Filipino comfortable, what will be the criteria? The criteria will be mobility. The criteria will be connectivity. The criteria will be to enhance the movement and transfer of people and goods. And then ultimately, this will be translated into one word: comfortable.
What sets this program apart from past programs and past governments? I think there are three things. First is the boldness in the decision-making that's being done by this government. Second is the swift action that's being undertaken. And third is the unity of purpose of all the departments related to infrastructure.
May, we also have here representatives from the private sector, like from banking, construction, and business. And among their proposals to the government is to give the private sector more involvement in the Build program. They're also calling for a more open and balanced distribution of funding modes. May?
That was Ruth Cabal reporting live from Taguig. You can watch the full forum later this week. A lot of questions will be tackled with the country's economic managers. The event is moderated by CNN international correspondent Andrew Stevens and CNN Philippines chief correspondent Pia Ontiveros. Catch our special presentation, Building for the Future. Initial telecast is on Friday, 7 p.m., only here on CNN Philippines. As oil prices continue to rise, the transport sector wants to raise fares. Since the petition for a jeepney fare hike is still pending before transport regulators, some jeepney groups appeal for higher oil discounts. Our Makoy Popioco tells us more.
Jeepney driver Noel Texon says he needs to earn at least 2,000 pesos on a 14-hour shift. He spends at least 1,000 pesos on fuel every day, and he needs to pay a 600 peso boundary or fee to the jeepney owner. Noel takes home about 400 pesos for his family every day.
Malaking epekto sa pamilya namin. Lalo na ako, marami rin akong anak. Kagaya ngayon, hindi pa ako nakakabili ng gamit ng bata para sa eskwela.
Noel says rising fuel prices is making it difficult to make ends meet. That's why he supports some jeepney operators' petition for a fare hike. And they want a big-time fare hike of 4 pesos, which somewhat surprised regulators during a hearing.
Now you are asking for plus 4 pesos. Tama po ba?
They want the current 8 peso fare raised to 12 pesos. Asked about the changes in the fare hike amount, petitioner Pasang Mazda President Obet Martin issues a clarification.
Nagkaroon pala sila ng pag-uusap ng aming abogado na para siguro binanggit ni Ms. Maran para dun sa brand yun ng GP.
Martin says their petition remains at 2 pesos. This was filed last February. Regulators say transport groups should present a common fare hike petition for the next hearing on June 13th. Meanwhile, the jeepney groups are also proposing another scheme to cushion the impact of high fuel prices. A 4 to 5 peso fuel discount in exchange for the fare hike.
Walang problema. Sa 8 pa rin tayo. 5 pesos na gawin nilang discount from 45 hanggang 40, okay na kami doon. Para mapagbigyan din natin ang mga kahilingan ng ating mga mananakay.
Some oil companies are already giving a 1 peso discount for PUV drivers. But Martin says this amount is not enough. Lizada says transport regulators will meet with oil executives about the proposed discount on June 15th.
If they are able to have basketball teams, di ba may mga basketball teams sila? Pwede ba kami naman na ngayon ang humingi ng tulong sa inyo? It's not for us. The end objective is for the riding public.
The oil price spike is cutting across other modes of transport as well, as airline companies seek permission to restore the fuel surcharge on passengers. The surcharge was removed in early 2015.
Po ang mga petitions namin hindi naman talaga sa increase ng pamasahe but petitions for the reimposition of the fuel surcharge. So dalawang domestic carriers na po natin nag-file ng petition to lift the prohibition on fuel surcharge, PAL and Cebu Pacific.
Some shipping companies have already adjusted fares to reflect higher fuel costs.
Based from our franchising service, Mr. Chair, there are some ship owners are starting to increase their fares to recover for the increase in fuel prices.
Cheaper fuel may not come soon. That's why people in the transport sector like Noel could only hope the government and oil companies heed their plea for relief. Makoy Popioko, CNN Philippines.
Time now for the latest in sports. No Kiefer Ravena for the NLEX Road Warriors as PBA action in the Commissioner's Cup resumes. The star rookie is missing out in NLEX's match against the Blackwater Elite. The official PBA website earlier reported that the Road Warriors have decided to sit out Ravena until the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas can get a clarification on whether he can still play in the league. Ravena received an 18-month suspension from FIBA for failing a drug test. FIBA has found that he tested positive for 3 ingredients in the World Anti-Doping Agency's list of prohibited substances found in a pre-workout drink called Dust. NLEX has since expressed its full support for the former UAAP MVP. Their head coach, Yang Yao, however, says they are determined to carry on with the conference with or without Ravena. The Food and Drug Administration has ordered the review of workout and energy drinks amid Ravena's doping controversy. FDA Director General Nela Puno says this is to protect the health and fitness of the public. The FDA also called on Ravena to help and cooperate in the process.